Bitcoin Spot ETF and my strategies around the event. That is the topic for today's video. I hope you find it useful. Hello and welcome back to Investment Vitals. As I said, today I'll be talking about the much anticipated decision on the Bitcoin Spot ETF, which is expected to be announced in the next couple of months. If you find this video useful, do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Share it with your friends and family, and if you have any comments, suggestions or inputs, do mention in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. As you can see on the screen, the Bitcoin Spot ETF approval by SEC is approaching, and expect either the approval or decline or decision basically on this event in the next couple of months. It is expected to be done awarded by January of this year. Now the crypto market has been abuzz. It's been abuzz with this event being in radar. In fact, yes, you might already know this, that even on the fake news of approval of Bitcoin Spot ETF, Bitcoin had rallied by more than 10% on a single day. On the screen you can see the news article which is on the screen right now, which was announced on 16th of October 2023. One of the news portals had wrongfully erroneously reported that Bitcoin Spot ETFs have been approved. On that very day, based on this fake news, Bitcoin had rallied from around $28,000 US dollars to around $30,000 US. On the chart we can see this movement on this particular day under this candle. I'll show you it across in terms of the movement thereof. The one day movement on that particular day on the fake news itself was, just a second please, yes here, was to 13 or around 10%. On one day the Bitcoin rallied or 10% based on this particular news. Further, since then Bitcoin has rallied by around 41%, despite the and people are excited about the actual move that might come upon the actual news being announced. Now, before that, let us first look at historical precedence that has been in case that has played out in past in similar instances. Prior to this, let me also tell you that Bitcoin Spot ETF or similar instruments do exist in other countries. Why? Then the question that arises is, why is this particular event so important? This, as I said, it is already existing in other countries, but not in the United States. As you can see on the table right now on Wikipedia, United States economy is around 26 trillion US dollars out of total 104 trillion US dollars of the global economy, which implies that US alone comprises of around 1/4 of the global GDP. That is approximately 25% of the global GDP, which implies that there's a lot of money in US, and hence if an instrument that could channelize some of this funds into the Bitcoin price might rally. Now this is a little bit of historical precedence. For those who are not interested in this, you might skip to the more interesting part at the later part of the video. However, I also want to bring to highlight that there are divided opinion of the impact that this news might particularly have. Most people, including me, do believe that in the long run, this would be, if Bitcoin Spot ETF is approved, it will be extremely positive for Bitcoin. However, in past, many news in crypto industry have been buy the rumor, sell the news kind of an event. I'll draw attention to a similar approval that was given not for Spot ETF but for futures ETF. As you can see on the screen, in around 2001, Bitcoin futures ETF was a big buzzword, just like Bitcoin Spot ETF is today. It was announced, it was approved or launched in October 16, 2021, and the market was extremely excited, just as it is today. Let's go back and see what was the reaction of this particular event on Bitcoin price back then. On the chart on your screen right now is that same period that is in discussion. Now you can see the news was announced in October of 2021, which is right around here. It was announced in October 21, around this time. Prior to this launch in October, Bitcoin had rallied around 52%. Note this number down. 52% was the rally in Bitcoin and before the launch of this ETF. This candle is the candle of 16th when this news or when this Bitcoin was launched. Now, from 16th till around end of November of 2021, Bitcoin rallied further by around 12% before falling by a massive 74% subsequently. You can see after hitting the peak upon the receive the news, Bitcoin had fallen by 75%. Now that was a different time altogether, because 2021 was the end of the previous bull run, while the new bull run is likely or expected to begin with the halving in the next year. However, it is worthwhile to note that in past news like this have typically been sold off too. So market rallies in anticipation of the event, but has, in historically speaking, fallen subsequent to the news being announced or the approval. So based on this, many people are really expecting that upon the announcement of Bitcoin spot news, market might fall at least in the short term. However, in the long run, it is expected that money, a lot of institutional money might flow into Bitcoin once the spot ETF is approved. For those investors like you and me who have been there for more than one cycle, you would realize that you would remember that when we started off our investments in Bitcoin, most of us started off with investing in uh, through exchanges, either Bitcoin directly, or many of us would have gone through other routes like GBTC, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC. Now, for given this historical past, it is not unlikely that Bitcoin might actually see a fall upon the approval being accorded. Now, before I move ahead, there was also another similar instance of futures in not a spot ETF, not an ETF, but a futures that was approved in December 7, 2017. Again, just to put in perspective the impact of buy the news and sell the rumor, which has been a thing in past for in Bitcoin. Let's have a look of what had happened when Bitcoin futures has started trading on exchange in 2017. In 2017, as you can see from this article, right here, Bitcoin, it was announced on December 1st, 2017, that the futures trading of Bitcoin would start on CME exchange, and back then you can see the price impact. From the date of announcement, Bitcoin had rallied by around 200%. However, from right on this calendar, which was to December of 2017, 17 December 2017, that marked the launch of the futures. Bitcoin futures marked the very top of the cycle, and subsequently Bitcoin fell by 70%. Now you might notice that in both the cases, in 2017 and 2021, both the cases Bitcoin had fallen by approximately 70% after the news was out of, that is, on the event itself. Now, as I said again, these are two different things altogether, because unlike the spot market, Bitcoin futures market does not technically or theoretically have any result in any inflow into the Bitcoin asset in itself. It is highly anticipated that once Bitcoin futures, Bitcoin spot is ETF is approved, a lot of institutional money will flow into Bitcoin. Now, coming to the strategy that I'm adopting for this news. Now, nobody knows for sure what will be the exact impact, because it is not easy to quantify the amount that might flow in once the Bitcoin spot ETF is approved. However, I believe that with the impending Bitcoin halving in the next year, this could be a trigger that could take Bitcoin to higher levels. However, I do not want to be playing. I would not want to be speculating on this event, and therefore I want to have a strategy that is a little more sustainable. Before I move to the strategy, let me discuss a little bit of a background to that would lead to the strategy. Now, you might know that there are many applicants to Bitcoin Spot ETF. However, one of the major events that triggered a lot of optimism in this space was GBTC, which is Grayscale's court victory over SEC. You might know that SEC, that is Securities Exchange of Commission of US, had rejected Grayscale's or GBTC's application to convert GBTC, which is a trust, into ETF. The difference thereof is that a trust, the price of a trust in an ETF, when you sell your ETF instrument, you can convert the underlying manager would sell the corresponding amount of Bitcoin or the underlying asset, and therefore you could realize the value practically at the spot value of that asset, which implies that when you sell your Bitcoin spot ETF, you can expect to get the exact same amount as you would expect upon selling Bitcoin in itself. Currently, GBTC is a trust, which implies that when you sell GBTC share, you are essentially selling your share to another investor, and therefore you might not necessarily realize the same value as selling of Bitcoin in itself. As we can see from the current chart, Bitcoin GBTC would tend to trade at a premium or at a discount to Bitcoin price. Now, why is this so? Because as I said, when you sell your GBTC, you do not necessarily convert your. It would sell to another buyer of that share or that trust share, and hence, if there's excitement in the market, you might end up getting more money than the actual underlying value of the GBTC you're selling, or you might get a lower value than the corresponding holding of Bitcoin that you would have held. Now, natural question is, ordinarily, therefore, GBTC should trade at a discount to the underlying value of the Bitcoin that it holds. However, as I said, for new investors, mostly GBTC happens to be a very safe and easy investment avenue for those who would not be either comfortable opening an account with an exchange like FTX, for example, or Binance for that matter. Those people might find it easier and safer to invest into Bitcoin through GBTC. Therefore, during bull run times when Bitcoin is in demand, GBTC tends to trade at a premium. So on the screen you can see during most of the bull run, even in 2019 for that matter, GBTC was trading at a premium to the underlying it held for Bitcoin. On the screen right now, for example, on 5th of September 22, month is, yeah, in January of 2020, for example, it was trading at a 21.74% premium. Similarly, say let's take on 11th of December 2020, it was trading at a 20% discount. Of late, it has been trading at a discount because the Bitcoin market has been going through a bear phase. The premium had dropped to a discount. That is, when you are selling your GBTC, you are getting 60% of the underlying holding of the Bitcoin, which means a 40% discount to the holding. Now, this is a little bit of background. Moving on to the strategy that I am adopting for the forthcoming event. Well, I believe that considering Grayscale had won its lawsuit against SEC, and as it is mentioned in this news article here, SEC has chosen not to appeal against the ruling, thereby making the court decision formal. Based on this, if a Bitcoin Spot ETF is approved, GBTC stands a very good chance of getting that approval in itself. What does that? However, again, there's a caveat to this. It is not necessary because SEC can still go ahead and reject it based on another underlying rationale. I'll just read through the article here. The last parts of the article, it says the ball now returns to SEC's court, whereby the agency could choose to approve GBTC's application or perhaps reject it on other grounds. So it is not impossible that GBTC's approval might get rejected also. However, instead of investing on Bitcoin and taking that risk of either upward or downward movement, I want to hedge it down further. As on today, GBTC is trading at a discount of around 10% to Bitcoin. What I presume is that GBTC might go ahead and get an approval for spot Bitcoin ETF, which would imply that the discount would become zero. That in itself would imply more than a 10% appreciation in the investment that I'm making in GBTC at this point of time. Also, even if the ETF does not get approved based on historical precedence, it is likely that once the bull run resumes, even if Grayscale is not converted into ETF, there's a possibility, and assuming that there are no other ETFs that are approved, based on these assumptions, it is likely that GBTC might go back to trading at a premium to the underlying Bitcoin holding, as has been the case in past. As I said some time back, in historically speaking, the premium has gone to as high as 87%, 97%, so on and so forth. So in the first scenario of GBTC getting an approval for spot ETF, I should get more than 10% rise in the value merely because of the curing of the anomaly. Even if it doesn't have approved, and if there are no other ETFs approved, by the nature of GBTC being the largest holder or largest instrument for indirectly holding Bitcoin, might go back into premium, and hence this 10% appreciation could come thereof also. These are both assumptions. Now, also, it doesn't mean that they're not risk. Let me move to the risk factors here. Also, before I move to the risk factors, again, this is not financial advice. This is what I am doing. In fact, I've been holding GBTC for quite some time now. I had purchased GBTC at discount, much bigger discount, and I can tell you around bought it at a discount of around 40% long time back, more than a couple of months back. Coming back to the risk factors now, and most investors of Bitcoin like me rather like to hold it in pure form in cold storage, in hardware, in cold storage, cold wallets. However, I have invested in GBTC based on the discount that is currently available vis-a-vis the price of underlying asset. The biggest risk therein is GBTC does not hold its Bitcoin in itself. It is held under custodianship by Coinbase. In past, you might know, after the FTX fiasco and also the Celsius fiasco, a lot of people were concerned about the actual underlying holding of Bitcoin by GBTC. Back then also, Coinbase had confirmed that they hold around 635,000 bitcoins on behalf of Grayscale, but had refused to share the proof of reserves, citing security concerns. Now, it might be a valid point that there would be some security risk that Coinbase might have seen. However, the fact that it is not verified on chain as of now is definitely a point of risk for most investors. However, I do find it a little contained risk based on the fact that Coinbase is a relatively reputed company. Also, Coinbase is listed and supervised by SEC. Also, Coinbase is audited. Based on these, audited by reasonably reputed auditors, and therefore, based on these factors, I do believe that the risk of not holding of Bitcoin by Coinbase as in under its custodianship is relatively low. In fact, the fact that GBTC does not hold the Bitcoin in itself and it is held by a third party, which is Coinbase, is some degree of comfort that commingling of funds, as we had seen in FTX, would not necessarily happen in case of GBTC. So that is the strategy that I'm adopting. Again, it is not free of risk. There are risks involved. However, I am trying to hedge myself against an event where market might fall or Bitcoin might fall upon spot ETF being announced, as many people are actually apprehensive. My personal view is that Bitcoin might see another fall in the fourth quarter of this current year, that is 2022, or the first quarter of 2023. Historically speaking, Bitcoin tends to see a fall either in the last quarter of the pre-halving year or the first quarter of the halving year. So that is not completely ruled out. My personal view is that we would see another fall. But again, once a spot ETF is approved, this will be a major milestone in crypto industry, specifically for Bitcoin, and it coincides with the time of halving. As for those who already know, halving Bitcoin and most cryptocurrency assets do tend to rally in the halving year and the year after the halving year. Therefore, both the catalysts coming at the same time, it could be a big news, and hence I also do not want to miss out on that. So I want to take on the upside of potential rise in Bitcoin upon spot ETF, but I also want to reduce the downside risk that might accrue if it turns out to be a buy the rumor, sell the kind news kind of a thing. Therefore, based on this, as I said, I am buying. I in fact have been holding GBTC for some time, and in fact, with these news coming up in market, I've been adding on to my position. Although the discount has substantially reduced from 40% to around 10% now, still 10% is not a small discount. It's a good discount, and therefore I expect once that GBTC, if GBTC gets a spot ETF approval, it might tend to outperform most Bitcoin in itself. I hope you find this video useful. It's I know I've gone a little too longer than I was wanting to go, but I still do hope that you found it useful. If you find it useful, do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share it with your friends and family so that they can also benefit out of it. Also, if you have any comments, queries, or suggestions, do write in the comment section below, and I will get back to you soon. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon in the next video. See you. Bye bye.